Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. In this video, I'm finally going to do my classic Physique Olympia prediction video. I've been waiting for them to do the weigh-in so we knew for sure if there's anything that would change my predictions, i.e. Mike missing weight. So my predictions did change. I'm going to show you guys the competitor list here very briefly. It's very long. It would probably take me 10 minutes just to read all these names. Maybe I'll read through the whole thing at the very end of this video. But I'm just going to give my top 6 predictions here because I think really there's just so many guys in this lineup that are so good. I feel like placing 7 through 10, really just placing 7 plus, it could really be anybody. And realistically, the top 6 could be anybody too. It's anybody's game. And I think now, especially considering that Mike is weakened a little bit, I think it opens up a little bit more. So starting with 6th place, I've got Matt Grego. Matt Grego this year has really impressed me. I think he's a completely different classic physique guy this year than he was last year. And last year he was still winning the New York Pro. He was top 10 at the Olympia. He was 10th. This year he won the Detroit Pro. He was top 3 at the Arnold with Logan and Mike. And some of the updates that Matt has been posting, he just looks incredibly impressive. And I told Matt this last night when I was talking to him. I said, bro, I think your transformation over the last couple years has been one of the more impressive transformations that I've seen recently, really across any division. I mean, just the evolution of his physique over the last couple years is truly remarkable, and it's been reflected in his placings from year to year. I mean, if you go back to 2023, he was 16th at the Olympia, moved up last year to 10th, so he moved up 6 placings between the two. I think this year he's going to move into the top 6. I think he looks even better this year than he looked last year. And to me, Matt just has an incredibly impressive physique. His condition is always gnarly. He's got a great structure. He's got a good amount of size. And if you look back at Matt's career, look at pictures of him from 2023. Now he looks like a completely different guy. So Matt is my pick for number 6. In 5th place, I've got Breon Ainsley. Now, Breon was 5th place last year. But interestingly enough, this year we don't have Urs Kalsinski. We don't have Chris Bumstead. Those are the 2 guys that placed ahead of Breon. So on paper, this year Breon should be top 3. I just don't see that in this lineup. I think these guys are getting better from year to year. And like I've said in a previous video, last year was Breon's worst classic physique Olympia placing in his entire career. And progressively over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years, his placings have gotten worse, not better. And I just can't see him placing higher this year than last. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he is the oldest guy in this lineup. There may be somebody else. I mean, there is like 70 guys competing in classic physique, so there could be someone else. But I think at 45, Breon is at least one of the oldest, if not the oldest. And he's on the record saying that this is his last Olympia ever, or his last classic physique Olympia ever, rather. And I look at his updates, he still looks crisp, he still looks conditioned, he doesn't look downsized at all. You can't really even tell this guy is 45. And I just don't think that with this being his last Olympia, he's a classic physique Olympia champ, I can't see them placing him outside of the top 6 at his last Olympia ever. I think they're going to send him off with a top 5 placing. I just don't see him higher than that. So I've got Breon in 5th. In 4th place, I've got Logan Franklin. 13th place at last year's Olympia. But this year he was runner-up at the Arnold to Mike, and he won the Florida Pro to qualify for the Olympia. Logan, you guys know how I feel about Logan. If it were up to me, I would probably pick Logan to win. But I'm not a judge. But I think Logan is going to move up. I think this will be his best Olympia ever. That's my honest opinion, based on the updates that we've seen from him, based on the package that we saw from him at the Arnold, the package that we saw from him in Florida, the condition, the detail, and now the added size that we saw from him at the Florida show. I think Logan is going to have his best Olympia showing ever. I think top 4 is a very bold prediction for him. But I think if we're being real, if there was ever a year to talk about Logan as a contender for the title in that first call-out, really in that mix with that core group of top 3 guys, let's be real, this is the year. This is the best Logan we've ever seen, and I think if there's any year that he was going to be a contender for a top spot, it's this year. I've got Logan in 4th, and possibly higher, based on what happens with the guy that I've got in 3rd. So in third place, this will probably be the most controversial prediction of this video. In third place, I've got Mike Sommerfeld, and I'll tell you guys why. I've already said this, but I think that if Mike had made his 212 weight, he would probably be winning this show. I think the fact that he had to cut those 14 pounds in the last couple days before the show is going to significantly impact his physique. We saw what happened with Terrence Ruffin. He went from runner-up at the Olympia to 6th at the Olympia, and it was because of that last-minute cutting, and I think that Mike will be impacted the same way. Maybe even worse than what I'm predicting him to be impacted. Like I said, Terrence dropped 4 placings to 6th place. I'm only predicting Mike to drop 1 placing from last year. He was 2nd last year. I've got him in 3rd this year. I think that what happened with this weigh-in and him having to make that cut in this height controversy, I think that is going to impact his physique. And I also think all this discussion about Mike leading up into the show, his cortisol is probably really high. He's probably stressed out. He looked stressed, to be honest, at the weigh-ins, and he probably was. He probably knew he wasn't going to make that height. And actually, I know he knew because he said he started cutting the weight days before. So I think he knew he wasn't going to be in that same height category from last year. And I also think that because realistically, last year, he kind of came out of nowhere to be that runner-up. He came from 8th place the year before, and suddenly he's runner-up to Chris Bumstead with votes over Chris for the win. And I think you can attribute that to his added weight, which he's not going to have this year. I think this is really going to change the outcome of the show. And I want to be clear. I don't think that Mike is at fault for what happened here. Every one of these guys is going to take advantage of any little thing that they possibly can. And it boils down to this. The IFBB measured him. They set the rules. They said, this is good enough for us. This is your height. You can weigh this. Go compete. Did Mike maybe boost up his hair a little bit to try to achieve that? Even if he did, they allowed it. And that's how they measured him. They saw how high his hair was. They could have pushed down on it if they wanted to, and I'm assuming that's what happened here today. But I actually disagree with this discussion that I'm seeing about Mike. Like, for instance, I'm seeing people talk about the Arnold Classic victory, and I'm seeing people talk about the runner-up at the Olympia last year, and they're saying that because he missed weight here, those wins are invalidated. I actually disagree with that, because like I said, the IFBB makes the rules. They decide whether you can compete or not. They measured him. They said, this is good enough for us. This weight is good enough for us. You can go compete, and that's how he won. He won based off of them telling him he can. So I feel like this is a don't hate the player, hate the game situation, and that's why I feel like we should be appreciative that the IFBB rectified this and remeasured him, even though I would like to see the pictures in the videos, and I would have liked to have seen it on the live stream, the actual measuring, because we still haven't even seen it. We haven't seen him up against the measuring tape, and we haven't seen the picture of him on the scale even saying that's what he actually weighed. We still don't even know for sure. We haven't seen it. But I would say in Mike's defense, people saying that we should invalidate those past 2 placings, I don't agree with that. Mike did what they allowed him to do. Now, I do think you can make the argument that because he was so much heavier at those 2 shows, that now those 2 placings are no longer a good indicator for how Mike is going to do at this Olympia, because it's not going to be the same Mike. He's not going to weigh the same, and he's not going to look the same. That's just a fact. So I don't think that those shows are any longer a good indicator for how he's going to do here. And that's the extent that I would agree with this discussion about those past 2 shows. And I would also say I'm genuinely impressed that Mike made weight. And I was also a little worried about him, because when you think about how dangerous that really is, we're talking about look, you saw how lean he is. He's already shredded when he lost all this weight. When he lost 14 pounds, he was already peeled to the bone. We saw updates of him at a week out before this discussion about the height even took place. Like, where did that weight even come from? Like, he didn't really have anything left to lose, and somehow he found 14 pounds to lose. It's not healthy. It's not safe, and I'm glad that he's fine and he's still with us and nothing bad happened, but realistically, that's a dangerous cut to be doing. But I genuinely think with Mike, we got the best possible outcome here. He was not disqualified. He was able to make weight. He did it in a healthy way. And the IFBB was able to rectify the situation. They remeasured him. They gave him his correct height. And the internet really doesn't need to speculate anymore. They were right. He was not truly that height. All the things that we wanted to be proven and fixed were fixed. And I don't think anybody wanted to see Mike get disqualified. I don't think anybody wanted to see Mike not make weight. We just wanted him to make the correct weight. Because when you think about how this could have gone down, one option is Mike couldn't make weight and he got disqualified, which I honestly don't think anybody would even be happy about. He traveled here to compete. He prepped to compete. I would have not liked to see Mike get disqualified. Then the other option is if he did come in again and he was able to weigh 212 and they gave him that same incorrect height and they hit it on the live stream, then imagine he wins the Olympia with that incorrect height and that incorrect weight. Then there's just forever going to be an asterisk next to that win. And I don't think anybody else wanted that either. And I think now you've got the perfect situation where he can still compete. He's at the correct height. He's at the correct weight. And now I don't think there can be an asterisk if he is able to win. In fact, if somehow he does still win, I think that shuts everybody up. And you got to be a fan of Mike Sommerfeld at that point. But that's why I'm predicting Mike in third. I do think that last-minute cut is going to severely impact his physique. I really do. I don't think we're going to see the same Mike that we saw pushing Chris Bumstead, and I don't think we're going to see the same Mike that won the Arnold Classic. I think we're going to see probably a good Mike, but just not the same, probably not a great Mike. Now, in second place, I have Terrence Ruffin, Rough Diesel. I think the top two, now considering what happened with Mike, is going to be between Terrence and Ramon. And I think it's going to be close, by the way. I think that everything that I've seen from Terrence, in my opinion, the two most classic physiques in this lineup are Terrence and Logan. And I think of Terrence and Logan, Terrence has the higher chance of winning. Because with him being a little bit shorter, I feel like he has this advantage over Logan where he's a little bit more filled out and balanced and complete. Where Logan being taller, yeah, you can criticize his legs. You can maybe criticize his back. There's like points you can pick out where maybe he's not as filled out. Terrence is like equally proportionately filled out everywhere, and he's got an insanely classic structure. Him and Logan, I would also argue, are probably the two best posers in this division. And for me, that's another thing that it's going to come down to with Terrence and Ramon. So obviously, I've got Ramon winning if I've got Terrence in second. But this is contingent on a couple of things. He can't be off like he was last year. If Ramon looks like he looked last year, he's not going to win. If he's really at his all-time best, he's back to the on version of Ramon. I think he wins this show. But it's also contingent on what he said at the press conference, that he really put a serious emphasis on fixing his posing, not being so shaky in the poses, holding the poses longer, hitting the poses better. I think those are things that he absolutely has to do if he wants to win this show. And honestly, if he doesn't fix the posing, I don't know if he does win this show because, like I just said, Terrence is arguably the best poser in this whole lineup. So if Terrence and Ramon are your top two, any weakness in Ramon's posing is going to be exposed by Terrence. And honestly, I'll say it could be kind of a coin toss between Terrence and Ramon. I think it's going to be a battle between... I think this is going to be actually really cool. I think we're going to get a rematch of Logan and Mike. I think it's going to be very close between them, and then I think it's going to be very close between Ruff and Ramon. So I think you've got two battles going on. I think it's very much going to be Terrence and Ramon, and then it's very much going to be Mike and Logan. And then the battle for 7 through 10 is just going to be an all-out dogfight. But now that you guys know my top 6 predictions, let me know your top 6 predictions, or even your top 10 in the comments down below. And I'm going to show you now the fan voting I did on the community tab of my channel. 34,000 votes in so far. Who do you have winning the Classic Physique Mr. Olympia? In order, Ramon Dino overwhelmingly with 46% of the votes. Mike Sommerfeld looks like he's in second with the fan vote with 32% of the votes. Rough Diesel looks like he's in third with the fan votes with 12% of the votes. And Logan Franklin looks like he's in fourth with only 9% of the votes. But again, the question is who's going to win. But I think you can take those percentages and just say, okay, we're going to rank these guys in that order, and that's kind of how the internet views that top four going in order. And I think Mike's he's a bit of a wild card because we still don't know exactly how he's going to look. I don't think he's going to look as good as he looked at the Arnold or the Olympia last year. So I think that moves him down. So I've got him one placing down from last year, from second to third. He could move down more than that, or he could potentially move up over or stay in second place. I just personally think he's going to move down. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.